everyone. Welcome to Let's Talk Loughborough, a brand new podcast here at Loughborough University. And we're bringing you interesting interviews from staff and students across the university. So stay tuned to find out more. I'm your host, Jemima. I'm a second year student here at Loughborough studying English with Digital Humanities.
And I'm Soph, I'm Jemima's co-host. I work in the internal communications team, so bringing all of the staff and student comms to you across the university.
We spoke to our new Vice-Chancellor last week, so it only felt right to have a chat with our new LSU President, Freya.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. So thank you so much for joining us, Freya. And we start every episode off with an icebreaker question. So today's icebreaker is, if you could choose any person from history, alive or dead, to be friends with, who would it be and why?
So I'm a bit of a history nerd as part of my degree. So I'd say for me it'd be Eleanor of Aquitaine. She was a really enlightened individual and a woman in the medieval period, and made some pretty big gains of feminism in that time, I would say, and was quite phenomenal in how powerful she was and how power hungry she was. So that's someone I'd want to kind of watch as they went through their life and be a friend to.
Yeah, that's a really good answer. That's really interesting as well. I didn't know much about her, and it's like nice to see a bit more of history as well. So who would you choose?
So I was having a think about this earlier. I think it would be Amelia Earhart, because not only was she the first female aviator to fly solo across the Atlantic, but there's also like such a mystery around her death, because she just disappeared. So I would love to meet her and be like, so what actually happened? Where did you go? Did you just go off and live a completely separate life? What was the deal? What about you, Jemima?
I think Michelle Obama. She's been like my role model since I was a kid. So definitely I'd love to be friends with her, hang out with the Boms for the day, and like find out a bit more about her and her story, because obviously she's done like a lot of influential things in like currently. So it'd be really nice to be friends with her, and obviously her daughters as well.
Good answer. I like that.
Fab. So let's go straight into the questions that were submitted by our staff and students here at Loughborough via Instagram. And if you want to ask questions on future episodes, make sure you keep an eye out on the Loughborough University Instagram, because we'll be asking for your questions. So the first question for Freya is, what do you study?
So I'm actually still studying. I'm a placement student, but I study politics, history and international relations. I basically couldn't decide what I wanted to do and chose all three, and Loughborough did all three, so it's kind of handed up here.
How are you finding your placement?
It's good. Obviously, it's very different. It wasn't what I expected to do as a placement year, but I'm so lucky to have the opportunity to do it, and I'm loving every minute so far.
What made you like run for president?
So weirdly enough, I never considered it until I got a phone call when they were about to run for exec elections. I've been nominated by a few people, and they phoned me and they were like, are you considering this? And until that point, no was my answer. They sent over a few things about job descriptions, what it entailed, because I didn't really have an idea. And I just kept looking more and more into it. And I just thought, what's the worst that can happen? I might as well go for it and see what happens. Obviously, it's going to be a tough election. And since then, I've just never really looked back. It's been a phenomenal experience.
What's your highlight of being president so far, or trying to get to president?
I think on the results day, I think I put in so much work in the elections period, and then it all paid off. But it was also obviously during a deadline season. It was never not like I'd done anything like that before. It was things like the soapbox and meeting those people and trying to tell people that I'd be the best person for the role. And it's quite a weird experience, because by the time you get to the end of the process, you are also convincing yourself, and you know that you would be. So that was quite good. But obviously there have been some good moments so far in the role, but the lead up to it was definitely a fun one.
I know some students don't know exactly what the LSU president process is. So if you'd like to enlighten us a bit more about that.
Yeah, so every year we have exec elections. So it's where we nominate those who come into roles like me, so the executive officers, to represent students at the highest level in the student union. So we all do this for a year, and it's a completely full-time job. So it's representing, I do things based in line with the university and strategy. So I do things like that. But then welfare obviously does welfare strategy or sport or BP and things. So everyone does a different job, but the whole process is elections, and we encourage people to get involved, ask loads of questions to the candidates, and vote really early on, and they'll be happening in March this year. So the new me will come along.
That's really exciting. So as president this year, what are your goals?
So I think they're actually changing. I feel day by day, they're kind of adapting to what's going on. The three main ones were to maintain traditions as we go throughout the year. There are some things that did benefit us throughout the pandemic. We are seeing some people that do like online or accessible things that maybe feel a bit overwhelming going straight back to in person. So I want to keep those in. I would also like to get some different genres of music in the union and celebrate some local Loughborough talent and some DJs and businesses that are booming. My second point was based around mental health and sexual assault. I would love to run a conference about mental health and talking about student mental health and get some experts in. And I think, as is a hot topic at the moment, sexual assault campaigns are being run all throughout the year, and I'm making that a real priority. And my final point was to do with engaging students. So we have a London campus and we need to engage with them. They're all postgrads, they're a little bit older. Most of them are even older than me. But we're trying to engage them, make sure we can facilitate their life-shaping experiences, because that's what the LSU does. And also that's the same for postgrads and any students who are in town. So it's reminding everyone of the opportunities we have here. So they're the main goals, but I feel like I'm trying to apply them to my day-to-day job. And at the moment they are applying because things are cropping up that are to do with them. So that's quite good so far, but everything is very, very quick here.
Yeah, I can only imagine your job is so fast paced, keeping up with the times, and students are all ever changing. And you have a lot of goals which look like they could come into play, and I'm excited to see what you do. So in terms of that, what are you most looking forward to this year during your presidency?
Not to be like, I want it to be over, but I want to get to the final month and see what I've done in a year. I would love to get to that point and be able to be like, I did that. Every night I actually write in a little book, a little journal of everything I've done in that day. Because I think some things are little wins, which I'll forget about in 9 months' time. So I'm really trying to keep in touch with those. And I actually just want to read through that at the end and hopefully feel really accomplished. There might be things where I think, I wish I slipped a bit there. I wish I could have done this. But I would just love to know that I made a difference here somehow. Hopefully a good difference. But I think I'm going to have to wait for the last month to finally see some things come into fruition.
That's such a great idea as well about having a little book. I think that's something that I think students and staff should do, because I know there's lots of stuff I did when I was a student that I don't think about now, and stuff I do in my day-to-day job that you just don't think about. As you said, like a couple of months on, I really like that idea. I might have to steal that.
I definitely recommend. There are some things where you just seems like a really small decision, and then at the end of the day you kind of won't remember it, and then 3 months time you're like, actually that was a part of a much bigger decision. So I do recommend.
It's all about perspective and knowing everything. But no, we're very excited to see the fruits of your labour at the end of your presidency. The next question is, how are you making LSU a safe and inclusive place for students? Because I know it's in part of your goals. So if you could elaborate a bit more on that, please.
Yeah, obviously this is very much talked about at the moment. And I think to me it's very important, because there have been times where I haven't felt safe in the place where I go out with my friends and work, because unfortunately that is sometimes the world we live in, and that is really sad to see. Obviously we've been working on the spiking cases at the moment. We've been working with the university to really encourage people to report it, because then we can look on CCTV and we can provide the necessary support. We've also been giving out free covers for drinks and things like that. So we're working on that with spiking, but there is a lot more work to go. We've set up working groups for student representatives to give them a voice and talk to senior management here and the EOs like me, and just kind of get a frontline thing of what's going on, what can we do more. Also, the biggest change I think which we're really looking forward to is bringing in welfare officers on nights out. So these people, there'll be a couple of them around, and they'll be able to look after students until medical attention can get to them if that's needed, or if they just need a helping hand or just someone to talk to on the night. So that's a big thing we're doing at the moment. I think we need to, as a woman, I think we need to move on from saying that women should be protecting themselves on nights out. I don't think that's the case anymore. I think we've been told to do that from a very, very young age, and there's a point where that does not apply to us, and we should just feel safe no matter what. I know that's a long goal and it's going to be difficult, and I don't expect to completely solve the issue. I think it's bigger than just Loughborough. It's everywhere, but if I can make a small dent in that and hopefully make students feel a bit safer, then I will be thrilled. but obviously there's a bit more to go.
I think it's good to see that there's a strong stance from the Students' Union. I think that will mean a lot to students and to staff as well. It's good to hear strong messages, and like you said, as a woman, you should be able to feel safe where you're going out.
Yeah, I think that applies to many, to be fair. I think we're seeing no difference in gender of who's spiked or anything like that. But I think sometimes the messages going out need to be toned to just people, and we shouldn't be making sacrifices really any gender, but especially women that have been and told to walk home with keys between their hands. It's just that it seems outdated now. So it'd be nice to change that rhetoric, but things like this are slow moving in a way. So there's definitely more we can do, and I'm always getting a few emails of suggestions, because sometimes it's things we haven't thought about, and sometimes we need to take a step back and look at it from a distance, and we don't get that opportunity because we're right smack bang in the middle. It's always helpful when students give us feedback.
No, definitely. It's really good that we could have such like a great relationship between students and the LSU in order to make a better environment for us all, and to make us all safer as well. And I'm really excited to see how you implement these plans as well. It's going to be great. I've seen obviously in the union when I've been going out, the stop caps and the drinks lids to prevent spiking. So it's so great that it's been implemented so fast as well. The next question is, what is your best piece of advice for students?
So I feel like I say this a lot. I've done so many speeches now to incoming students, things like that, and it's exactly the same sentences, but get involved. If anyone had told me when I was a freshman moving in 2 years ago that I would be where I am now, I would not have believed them at all. I got involved during halls, but there are so many ways to get involved at Loughborough, and it's such a unique experience. Other universities aren't the same, and I think there's just an opportunity to meet so many people, and you don't know how far you'll go. I would have never believed anyone that I would have ended up here, and I'm so grateful for that opportunity, and the opportunity is around for everyone. So I just think there's no harm in getting involved. I honestly think, what is the worst that can happen? If you don't like something because you went to a taster, okay, there might be something else you enjoy more, and then you might find the best friends of your life and have the best experience of your life. So just enjoy everything Loughborough has to offer, and throw yourself in heads first and see where you land.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great piece of advice. I know even though I was a freshman in the pandemic, one of the biggest things I did was get involved, and then Loughborough became home and it all clicked. So definitely get involved in everything we have to offer. We have so many opportunities here at Loughborough. So what would your advice be for students?
Oh, it's a tricky one, because I feel like I've not been at university for a long time now. But I think, without trying to sound too cliche, I think enjoy the time at university as much as you can. I think I definitely took it for granted when I went. And now that I work full time, I realise I actually had so many opportunities at university that I missed out on because I just kind of took it for granted. So I think definitely just make the most of it, make the most of the years that you get to just spend with your friends, hanging out, learning new things, trying new things. Make the most of it. What about you?
I think mine would be, it's okay to change. I think university is a big learning experience, especially in who you are and understanding the growth. I think the most important thing is don't be afraid of that change. You can change friends, or you're changing cities. University is one big change as it all, but you will change as a person, and it's probably for the better, and you'll realise what you're interested in. And Loughborough has so many experiences. I find that you really find yourself really quickly, and what you like, what you dislike, and you're able to try new things. So change is a good thing. That's my advice.
I like that. I think that's all very strong pieces of advice.
So we are heading to the near end of our interview, but for people who've never been to Loughborough before, what is your one must-try thing to do in Loughborough?
So I probably should say watch one of our sporting matches or things like that. But if there's nothing going on, I think especially in the pandemic, I went on a lot of walks around Loughborough, and there are some really nice walks and places around here. I recommend by Garendon Park. There are some beautiful walks and beautiful views. So I would say to anyone, if you're here, just go on a little wander. Just take a little map with you. Everyone has them on their phones now anyway, and just go and see. Just go out for a few hours. because it can be really, really beautiful and you can see some beautiful views. So I would actually say just go get a bit of nature and see what you find, because it's not all just the campus.
No,
I like that.
Yeah, I think definitely during the pandemic, I also took my daily walks, and I found so much more about Loughborough, especially. Yeah, I did the long trips of Beacon Hill, but also much closer, Burnley Woods, and also our campus is really beautiful to just walk around. So, what would you be your one must-try thing to do in Loughborough?
Oh, see, I think I would probably say walks as well, but I feel like we've covered that now. So I would probably say maybe go and get a cookie from Boms. I think that's a very popular place with both students and staff, and I always love if someone puts it in my diary to have a meeting in Boms. So I highly recommend there if you like good coffee, good baked goods. And yeah, I always think it's a nice treat.
Yes, Bonbon is amazing. It's so good. Like, my bank account is definitely suffering from my many Bonbon trips, but they're worth it because they have the best cookies in Loughborough. But they're also very nice to just hang out with friends. I think my one must-try thing to do is something a bit cliche and a bit cringy, but I did it many a time in my first year. But Holywell Hill, the one that looks over the stadium, just grab some friends and like watch the sunset, because you don't know, most of the time we brought like music or like had a picnic or something, but that's my one must try thing to do in Loughborough: watch the sunset with your friends, because there's some beautiful sunsets over Holywell Hill.
Nice. Maybe I'll have to try that one day. I'll come into work early or come in late. Don't forget that you can subscribe to Let's Talk Loughborough on all streaming platforms, or you can watch the podcast on Loughborough University's YouTube channel.
Thank you so much for listening, and feel free to share any future podcast ideas you have with us.
Bye.
Bye.